I'm just going to let you begin your story wherever you want to begin, and then we can just go from there.
Okay. I'm going to break this up in a couple parts. Like Alan mentioned, back as a teen, I did attend church here. But I was one of those teens that had all the answers, knew all the questions, and I wasn't very obedient to God. So I walked away from the church for a period of time. And you learn your lessons, school of hard knocks, you get knocked around a little. But God, unlike us, he's always faithful, and he's always left that door open. And when I did come back to the Lord and come back to the rest of the world, they welcomed me with open arms. I met my wife in this church. We have a 19-year-old son together, and I'm just trying to keep him from being like me because he thinks he has all the answers too. But he's a great kid. Went to school right here at Liverpool, just graduated a couple years ago. And life sends you for a lot of different roller coaster loops and, and bumps as you go along this road. And so just when I thought that life was pretty together, job, home, good friends, good church, great health, I started to notice some little things at work that bothered me. I was getting fatigued a little bit quicker than usually. I was having issues with remembering things that I used to just remember right off the bat, and some physical issues. So I got on that doctor roller coaster, and they bounced me from here to there and to various different specialists to see what was going on. Long story short, after about 3 years of the health declining, losing weight, not being able to work out and do a lot of things I used to do, they diagnosed me with Parkinson's syndrome. And not just Parkinson's, they said it was something on the Parkinsonian tree called MSA, multiple system atrophy. And basically what MSA does is shuts your body down, literally. You get to the point where you just stop doing things, and it slowly drains the life out of you. Not a pleasant thought, not a way that I ever thought that I would want to go. So I dug a little deeper, searched a little further. We ended up going to specialists at the Cleveland Clinic here about a month or so ago, and they confirmed the Parkinson diagnosis, which I wasn't too thrilled about. But there was a couple other things on that Parkinsonian tree other than the MSA, another symptom called Lewy body dementia, where it does the same thing that the MSA does, but instead of shutting your body down, this shuts your brain down, your cognitive skills, and makes it hard to do things mentally. And that really depressed me deeply because you take for granted a lot of the things that you can do until you can't do them. A lot of things we take credit for, we don't really realize those things are actually blessings from God, and he should be the one getting the credit. And it doesn't make things any easier just being a Christian. It doesn't take away the illness, the sickness. The Bible actually tells us we're going to suffer and have issues here in this world, and we're not meant for this world forever. But I tell you what it does do, being a Christian and having a faith in God, it gives you a strength, someone to turn to when there's nobody else there to turn to. And it's just been a blessing to be a part of this church family. The little things that I always took for granted, being able to go out and get my car and go here or go there, or if I had an appointment, just get there. I was put in a position where I needed other people to do those things for me, to drive me here and drive me there to doctor's appointments. And that messes with you mentally because now you feel like you're dependent on people. And once you get past that selfish aspect, because that was really my pride talking, not wanting to be dependent on anyone, wanting to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. And then comes the humbling stage when you realize those days are gone. So I asked God to humble me, to let me accept, the things that I can't do. One of our ministers here, David, told me one time, he says, you never deny a person an opportunity to serve, because it's not just them doing something for you, it helps them as well. Mm-hmm. So I got to that point where I just had a greater appreciation of what the church family does that you don't see on a daily basis. We get here on Sundays, we sing songs, we take the Lord's Supper, we may have a fellowship meal or get together at some point during the week. But there's a whole bunch of little things that a church family does behind the scenes that you don't see, like our elders driving people to doctors, visiting people in hospitals, helping someone put together a financial account, things like that. And not just for the people in the church, they do these things for people throughout the whole community. And that's part of our evangelism. As I sit here today, Alan asked me, was there certain scriptures that I lean on, during this time? The one thing that the Parkinsons have really done to me is interrupted my ability to sleep. No matter how tired I am, I can go to bed at 7 o'clock and I'll be up at 9 o'clock, and then I'm up literally the rest of the night and just tossing, turning, praying. Just the only thing I really want at that point is to be able to close my eyes, go to sleep, and wake up refreshed. And most nights I don't. So that leaves a lot of time and reflection to pray. And when I'm in that state where it's just everybody else in the house is asleep, all the TVs and everything are off, it's just me. At those points, I think of David's walk in the 23rd Psalm, walking through the valley of the shadow of death. I know what I'm going through. It's difficult, but there's a lot of people going through a lot worse things. I don't feel as if I'm walking in the shadow of death, as David did. But even though David was in that mental frame, his enemies had him surrounded. God prepared the table for him in the midst of those enemies. Didn't take him out of this valley of the shadow of death. Didn't take him away from his enemies, but he provided a place of comfort for David. And that place of comfort gave David hope that one day he would dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And that's the thing as Christians, no matter how difficult things get, we have hope because we have someone who is faithful when we are unfaithful. God is unchanging. He's going to be there regardless of what happens with us. And if we're accepting of his will, he has a plan for us. Hebrews chapter 12 says that we should lean on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, because for our joy, he endured the cross. And I've read that scripture a couple times. I said, how can that be joyous, knowing that you're going to suffer such a brutal death, for a lot of people that don't care anything about you? But he's the author and perfecter of our faith, and he went to the cross not for anything he did, but for what we do on a daily basis, because the Bible also tells us we all sin and fall short of his glory. Excuse me 1 second. Another thing that I hate about this is that it interrupts my thought process sometimes and throws me off. Okay.
You're good. You're good. Go ahead.
So when you're feeling desperate and hopeless, a lot of times it's easy to get in your own head and just want to give up. But then I think about how tired I am, how weary I am, and I think forward to Isaiah 40, where he tells us that even young people, because I was young at one time, you guys are young now, and you're in the prime of your life, great health, so forth and so on. But there's days where you get tired, you get fed up, whether it's school, whether it's your parents getting on your nerves, or whatever temptation is out there. There's a lot that you guys have to deal with on a daily basis as youth, especially the way the world is now. But he says that when you get tired, he does it. He lifts us up, puts us on wings of eagles, and he carries us, he guides us. So we as Christians, especially as Christian youth, the future is yours. You have all these doors and these availabilities open to you. If you're a part of the church, great. If you're not a part of the church, if you haven't been baptized, I encourage you to do so and become part of a church family. Because when all else fails, God will not fail. He will be there for you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this with you guys.
Let me ask you a question. So we have a bunch of young people here. Some of you probably don't know, my brother also has Parkinson's.
Yes.
And so Sam and I have talked about how difficult and devastating it is. But one of the things that you've really helped me understand is never to take anything for granted. And I thought, particularly because you have a bunch of young people here, could you share a little bit more about how important it is to, when God gives you a moment or God gives you the day, you make the most of it?
Yes, like I said, how I came involved in the church, they used to have a door knocking program, and they'd come out on Saturday afternoons, knock on your door, and invite you to come. If you signed up, they'd come the next morning with a bus. We used to have 3 buses. They'd pick us up. And I didn't have the best home life. Had a broken home. My mom wasn't in the home. My dad was very abusive, so she left. And he was abusive towards us, too. So I wanted to get out of there. And when I finally did, this is where I landed, I spent more time with Alan's family, than I did with my own family. And I knew that there was opportunity there, but just as we know all the good things that Jesus can do for us, Satan is out there too. The Bible tells us he's running around like a roaring lion looking to devour us, So we are literally in a battle of good and evil. And Satan wants to come after you, people, because you're young, because you believe in God, because you're here today. He wants to put you under attack. His biggest thing is to keep you away from the truth. And sometimes he does that in subtle ways. It may not be anything that you're doing. It may just be the things that you don't do. And at that time, I didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were there for me. And that alone drove a wedge between God and myself, because you can't serve both. And if you have the opportunity for God to use you, let him, because he has a plan, and his plan is infinitely better than any that we could come up with. It was better than the plan that I had. I had to learn a lot of hard lessons, but I learned them, and I'm still learning them. Alan's dad has said to me one time, he said, Sam, I'd like to get together and put a men's group together on Monday nights just so we can figure out a way that we can continue to grow. And I looked at him and I said, what do you mean, Bill? And he says, because there's times in my life that I feel like I should be doing more. And if anyone knows Bill Perkins, he's a guy that gives his shirt off his back. He'd do anything in this world for anyone. He has a heart for God. And he's a diligent man, and he works harder than most people that I know. And for him to make a statement to say that even at this point, he had to be 75, almost 80 years old at this point, telling me that he wanted to find other ways where he could be more effective, that God could use him more. That's the heart of a Christian, the heart of a lion. And if you have any of that in you, you'll be fine. Like I said, it's a difficult world. Kids face all type of temptations, whether it's from addiction, school shootings, all the stuff that goes on, internet stuff. We had temptations, but nothing like today. You didn't have to worry about whether you took a hit off a vape pen and someone laced it with fentanyl and now you're dead. Or someone comes into a school with an AR-15 assault rifle and you have to do a drill. You get under a desk because you have a shooter. Things like that, you know. I realize it's difficult being a teen. You're gonna make mistakes. We all do. We're gonna have failures. But the thing is dust yourself off, get back up, because God loves you. He's always gonna be there to put you on the wings of those eagles and lift you up if you allow him to.
All right. Thank you, Sam, so much for coming and sharing.